We were ending a one-week trip to visit my 94-year-old grandma. The trip was a really great trip. Elka Bow and Susan Stanley asked me, Troy Stanley, if I wanted to go out and get a couple glasses of wine. I said that I did not want to, but after about 15 minutes, I gave in because they really were bored. And a couple glasses of wine is a reasonable thing. We went to Reefer's Social Club, 600 Mandalay Avenue, Clearwater, Florida, 33767, between 8 and 9 p.m., I believe. We sat there about half an hour when the bartender asked us if we wanted another drink. We said yes. There were 6 people sitting outside the bar. There was a lady with a dog, seemed to know the man with the beard and baseball-style hat that was a bartender. There was a younger brown-hair woman with a nose ring and a white tank tee that served us the drinks. Susan got a Chardonnay, Elka got a Pinot, and Troy got a gin and tonic with lime. When we got our drinks, I got up pretty quick and went to Speedway to get Tums. I came back, and they said that no one had spoken to them. About 15 minutes later, the female bartender asked us if we wanted another one. We said not yet. We went outside so Elka could smoke a couple of times while we were there, leaving our drinks at the bar both times unattended. But there were so few people there, and it seemed like a really low-key, subdued area that we felt safe. Elka said that someone was talking about me or us and was taking our pictures. She said it to me as though she thought that they thought that I was famous or that they knew me, and that the lady was specifically taking my picture. The 6 people left about 45 minutes into our visit. We weren't even finished with the second drink that we had gotten, and we were asked if we wanted another one. We said yes. They filled our drinks a third time. Neither Susan nor Elka continued drinking very much. Maybe a couple of sips of the third drink. There was a man there standing outside the bar that saw me, and he wanted to come over and talk to me. He had a knife holstered on his shoulder, and I was telling him that he shouldn't do that. And he defended his decision because if someone were to grab onto his blade, he could be in trouble. We had about a less than 10 minutes conversation, and he even pulled the knife on me to show me his opinion about his knife skills. Right after that moment, Elka turned to me. Even not having seen the interaction with the strange man with the knife, she turned to me and said abruptly, "I want to go. I want to leave now." I said, "Really? You're ready?" She said quickly, "Yes, I need to leave." I said, "Okay, I'm ready." My mom, Susan, said, "Yes, I'm ready too." I stood up and finished my drink, walked around Elka to take her hand so we could walk half a block to our Airbnb. She immediately started to fall toward the ground. I caught her, picked her up, and carried her out the door. Susan was right behind us. Something was very wrong. Neither Elka nor Susan can remember anything from this point on, until they gained consciousness at the Morton Plant Hospital a few hours later. I carried Elka to the Avalon Beach Club where we were staying. We went through the front door into the elevator. In the elevator, it seemed as though Elka was starting to be able to walk, and I am pretty sure that she walked from the elevator to the room. However, this is when I myself started to feel very distant. I seemed very far away. This is the only way that I can explain it. When we got into the room, Elka dropped even harder and faster, but of course I caught her before she hit the ground. She began slipping in and out of consciousness, so I immediately called 911. They got there very quickly, thank God. However, the first EMT walked in, and Elka had regained consciousness. She cannot remember doing this, but she said, "He's abusive. He's abusing me." Susan was standing right next to her. She cannot remember this either. The EMT immediately turned his back to me in a way to put distance between me and Elka in an effort to protect his patient. More EMTs came in, and I myself was really starting to get emotional and less effective in the situation, because I am a very attentive man to my girlfriend, and not a single person in my life has ever been physically abused by me. However, some of the details of the EMT's conversation evade me. However, I remember one critical thing that they said, "Looks like other substances involved." At that point, I said, "Is there evidence of other substances?" There was no response. I repeated my question exactly, "Is there evidence of other substances?" I got the impression that because I was accused of abuse, that I was not being respected any longer. The EMTs put Elka on the gurney and pushed her to the elevator. I forced my way into the elevator, but Elka was being very unkind. They put her in the ambulance and said that I could not come and closed the door. I went and opened the back of the ambulance 2 times. Both times they told me that I could not enter, and Elka was not being friendly to me. They told me that I had to follow them to the hospital because I could not ride in the ambulance. By then, I imagine the EMTs called the police, and they were on scene in the parking garage under the condo. They were standing behind my car when I asked my mom to get in. I got in the car, started it, backed up, put it in drive, moved about 10 feet, watched the demeanor of the officers change abruptly. I stopped, put the car in reverse. Then I pulled back into the parking space and parked the car. I get out and Officer Nina tells me that I am under arrest for driving under the influence. I say something similar to, "Oh no, come on." He says, "That's resisting arrest." My mother, though confused, appeared to be just fine. I kept repeating to her, 307-1250, 307-1250. The officers were curious what I was telling her. 307 was the room number and 1250 was the passcode to get into the hotel. I take care of my people, and my mom was about to be left alone with very little money and no support because I was being taken to jail. She cannot care for herself when she is alone. I have power of attorney for her. In that moment, I was doing the best that I could for her to get her to the room and be safe. My mom was there the entire time and witnessed everything, which makes the next part of the story change from what appears to be a typical Florida drunken domestic dispute, of which it wasn't anything remotely like that until Elka uttered the phrase, "He's abusive," to a question of are EMTs required to give medical treatment to someone that has been falsely accused of abuse by someone that they might have even suspected was experiencing the effects of other substances? I go to jail. It was a wonder experience of self-reflection. I have zero complaints about the jail. Well, the food was terrible, but other than that, PCSO is a fine establishment. I received respectful treatment from the other inmates and all of the guards. After about a day and a half, I walk out of there with an alcohol monitor on my leg and a dead phone. It took me hours, steps, money, and 7 Ubers to get back to Columbus, Ohio. I had no contact with anyone but the bail bondsman while I was in jail, but the bondman told me that they were flying back because I gave contact info to my bondsman, Tiffany Cueto. So when I got into my last Uber and I felt like I was securely finding my way to my hotel, I called my mom. She tells me that she was really hurt. She sprained her shoulder, loosened 2 teeth, chipped 1 tooth, has a bad bruise on her chin, and she can't remember what happened. None of it. She claims that she does not remember leaving the bar, the paramedics, the betrayal, telling the paramedics that Elka isn't well and that I treat her very well, the police, the 10-foot car ride, the arrest, hurting herself, or being hurt by someone. Well, someone other than whoever dosed her with something that nearly killed my girlfriend, such as the police. She remembers waking up at Morton Plant Hospital with my girlfriend. Elka remembers very little after being at the bar, Reefer's Social Club, until waking up at Morton Plant Hospital. She has no memory of the ambulance ride or how she got to the hospital. At 9:35 p.m., while Troy was in custody, she called and left a message on his voicemail because she was incredibly distraught, scared, and had no support. Her first clear memory is waking up, restrained, or strapped to a hospital bed. She was very disoriented and doesn't remember her own behavior, though hospital staff later told her she had been combative, cussing at them. She has no memory of calling and accusing Troy of being an abuser. She was very belligerent with the hospital staff, likely due to the effects of being drugged. She remembers a male hospital worker helping her to the bathroom and mentioning that Susan, Troy's mother, was also in the hospital. She attempted to escape while in the bathroom but fell hard on her side. The hospital seemed eager to discharge her, even though she may not have been ready. Rush her out. She requested a toxicity report after hours when she began to collect herself. Results pending. She was able to get Susan discharged to her care, with Susan being in a wheelchair. She suffers from spinal shock and cannot go out in public alone without support. They took an Uber back to their resort, Avalon Beach Club. A staff member at the resort gave her a key to return to their room. She was distressed to find Troy missing and the bed still made, unused. She called multiple hospitals looking for Troy before finally locating him in jail. Medical records from the hospital may take up to 30 days to obtain. Neither my mother nor my girlfriend Elka can travel in public without assistance, so they're traveling home the next day on the plane, very, very difficult with normal challenges and the persisting effects of the drugging. So now, I need time to attempt to see who spiked our drinks and how the Clearwater Beach Public Services are so corrupt that they can't distinguish between criminal drug users and healthy drugged people in need of medical care.